listening to Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams.
There we are. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Summers for St. Pete podcast. I'm Mhariel Summers, your humble, gracious, and very grateful candidate for City Council District 6. And here we are in another week, another pod. My buddy Jacob, welcome, man. How you doing?
Oh, good. Another Friday.
Yeah. Now, we're a little late this morning, y'all, because very St. Pete-like. We had a hurricane come through this morning. So if you've been marked safe from the hurricane, kudos to you. Be safe out there on the roadways. I'm sure some are flooded because I had it was a challenge getting here.
Oh, yeah. I would say I turned around when I walked out the house. I'm like, blue skies in front of me.
Yeah.
And literally, hell on earth behind me. It was like, wow.
Yeah. I tell you, driving in it, that's how I felt. I'm like, okay, God, let me slow down. Gotta get there in one piece. But very typical.
'Tis the season.
Yep. It is. And it's funny. I walked into our studio here and I'm like, y'all, what's going on with the weather? And what'd you say?
It was very much just like, I got here. Basically that. Yeah. 'Tis the season.
And you're like, man, it's a hurricane.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Chandra, is it a hurricane? And she's like, it is the season.
Yeah, there it is.
Like, that's Floridians for you. A hurricane could be on our doorstep sometimes, and it's like, oh, it was a hurricane,
right?
So we got to do better because we got a lot on the line, and we got the perfect special guest who can help us do better with understanding the environment around us today. James Scott is going to be joining us shortly. So we look forward to that, but
and he's a member of the Sierra Club or
just overall environmentalist, man, and small business owner now. So I'm excited for him to come on and kind of talk about how he's merging those two, his passion for making I guess a healthier and lesser carbon footprint for all, and nice. Also making a little change the American way.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so I love James. He's going to provide us some great insight, but campaign this week. So far, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. Each week comes with more excitement. So we got some awesome endorsements off this week. Very thankful. And can we give it up for Council Member Deborah Fix Sanders?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, hailing from District 5 here, and I'm going to ask for another round of applause for our County Commissioner, Renee Flowers.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Listen, y'all, both of these extraordinary leaders, when I first came into this about 5 or 6 years ago, they had already been in it for decades in terms of serving people in different capacities, wearing different hats, but gathering knowledge about the system, about society, about, how people can better their lives, and disseminating that information as far reaching as they can from where they sat. It's an honor, it's an honor to receive the type of endorsement that they can see that I have the same desire, and hopefully, the same potential to make a significant change for the citizens of District 6. So very excited to pick up those endorsements. Had another forum this week.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. We did the Suncoast Tiger Bay down at the St. Pete Yacht Club. And they are some very nice. Have you ever been to the yacht club? Oh
yeah, it's phenomenal. I've only been there once, but it's very.
It's probably like my second time going.
Yeah, and very beautiful.
I love it. It's I'm like, you folks have great hospitality around here. Y'all know how to make folks feel well taken care of. So
exactly.
Great food, great staff. Thank you to Amy and the folks at Suncoast for the invitation and chance to participate. Yeah. And we got some great reviews from the folks who were there.
Yeah.
And it felt good. It felt good to kind of be back in front of voters, answering those questions. It's hard as a candidate, man.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever watched Family Feud?
Oh, of course.
like, you know, when folks are just asked these random questions on the spot.
And, and you
like,
just gotta,
you know,
gotta come up with it right there. Yeah.
Because I don't know if y'all have watched Candid Forums, but when you're in it, you don't have all the time in the world to just sit there and say whatever you want. Yeah. You know, you got 90 seconds. You know, you got a minute, and you got to give these folks their response. And so, I love it. That's why I study this stuff. That's why I've been invested in it, and think I have the solutions. And so what else is going on, man? What else is going on in the world?
Well, outside of all the epic campaign stuff, like you said, all the endorsements, and it was a good time, good week for that. But nationally, locally, a little bit going on. Obviously, we all know 9/11 coming up.
It is this
20th? Yeah, literally tomorrow.
It will. Yeah.
So and again, you don't want to get into too much. We all know what's going on. It's been 20 years, but I will say that there is this new documentary on Hulu that is supposed to be like phenomenal, and it's like from the point of view from a lot of the people that were there, like home footage types. But anyways, check it out, Hulu, if you've got it. So that's probably what I'll be doing this weekend. No,
that's awesome. And I think Netflix also has one that's pretty good. I can switch out. All right, well, I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. My special guest should be getting here, so we will be right back with the Summers for St. Pete podcast after. Maybe you should say it. My mic.
Yeah. We'll be right back, guys. Yeah, Summers for St. Pete. We're having a slight technical difficulty here, but we'll be.
You're listening to Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams. You're listening to Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams.
All right. We're back. So no, every time I get hot and spicy into my campaign talk,
Right.
The microphone starts to fizzle. So
Right.
to my ops, I know you're out there. I know you're doing it. We caught on, so we're gonna use a different mic from now on. No, but welcome back. And what were we talking about? We were getting into 9/11.
Yeah,
and you were
just
talking
like-
about the Hulu doc.
Yeah, just that new Hulu documentary that I'll
Yeah.
probably end up watching, like firsthand accounts. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be pretty intense. You know? I mean, it's always emotional, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I asked that because Netflix has, Netflix does the limited series.
Yeah.
So it's like a 5-part thing
Exactly,
that it took
yeah.
me a while, to kind of get through because of the time.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I wish I had Netflix time.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Post campaign, I'm gonna schedule like a whole 3-4 days of like
Just straight
binging,
up, yeah.
binging it.
Oh, yeah.
But anyhow, a lot of firsthand accounts, a lot of raw
Exactly.
footage that I hadn't seen
Exactly.
before.
Yeah.
And a lot of political, a lot of the things that we were talking about from the end of the Cold War to the beginning of the Gulf War
Yeah.
and the mismanagement.
Basically, how we got to that point.
That's what we were talking about a few weeks ago. And I think the most recent footage that they have, or the most recent information that they have on there is from like August of 2021.
Yeah.
So they go from all 20 years.
Because you got to think too, it's one of those things that over the course of time, more and more things. It's like anything. You study anything long enough, more things will become unearthed, known.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I was even watching and reading an article about using new scientific techniques that they just discovered the remnants of 2 new victims from 9/11.
Wow.
Like still to this day. Exactly. Wow. Like they've just exactly that was literally hit the news a couple days. Like you can look it up right now. They discovered 2 because again, that's still think about it. Like a lot of that debris or whatever it may be.
It's got to be in
like
some kind of factories or some kind of government owned storage. Yeah.
Exactly. But literally new scientific techniques coming out to the point where they discovered and were like able to identify remains.
Because I think
wild.
2001. I mean, cell phones were like Snake.
Barely.
Snake 2 was out. It was
the Nokia
not
brick.
right.
Exactly.
It wasn't a time for that. But something else interesting, parallel that you had said on a couple episodes back, how this war could potentially have people who are fighting in it who were born after it started.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at there have been a lot of beautiful memorials for the soldiers who were lost in Afghanistan. Those soldiers, a great deal of them were born either right around or right after this war started. So
yeah, are the 13 most recent?
Yeah, the 13 most recent. And so when you watch these 9/11 docs, pay attention to the soldiers and how so many of them were over there saying, "Look, we're fighting for our brothers at this point."
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to what end? America has never been the nation of endless wars. We have never been known for entering wars that had no insight.
Yeah.
And so, let us move forward diligently. On a less somber note,
Right. Positive note, I was gonna say the other big one was Biden's new, because that'll tie into when James gets here, but 2050 plan.
St. P 2050 plan. I want to save the environment stuff for James. I want to hold off for him a little bit. I was talking excitement in terms of the Bucks winning.
I love it.
The Bucks have won, folks.
I love it.
The Dallas Cowboys officially have the worst record in the NFL. I've been holding that one in since I saw it on the meme last night, but they do. Awesome. It was a great game, and I think it just speaks to the importance of local sports.
Yeah.
There's something that kind of unifies the community. They are just a great economic driver, and I can't always help but make everything political. But I'm there like, dang, like how do we get the Rays to capture the same type of excitement?
Right.
Do we need to make like baseball
a full contact sport? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, is that not where we're going with that? No. Okay.
That's a good suggestion.
Right. Just running by second, just start elbowing people.
Right.
Right.
A little change in the rules. But no, I think we got to just get it more, widespread. It's got to be more ingrained on a community level. Maybe some more rec teams.
Yeah.
I always see local baseball leagues kind of in North County. There's one over in Gulfport that kind of is on the south side of St. Pete. But I think in my district, I'd like to see more baseball programs.
Yeah. And it's wild too, because the Rays are very good.
Oh, let me not. Oversight. There's a great baseball program down at Lake Vista. I don't want the little.
Don't be
leaguers,
leaving out. Yeah.
I don't want the little leaguers to be like, she doesn't even know we're down here. No. Gulfport and Lake Vista.
There you go.
But sorry.
But no, because the Rays overall are a phenomenal team and have been for seasons now.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't just like a fluke of last year. Oh, they made it to the World Series. Or I mean, right now, from what I've been reading, is the fact that they are not only number one in the American League, but they're competing for like number one in the overall game of baseball right now. Like
that's what I'm saying. Okay,
wild.
So you have my parents have gotten into baseball over time because they are the type of folks who they come home and they just kind of turn the TV on, and for a while there they were able to kind of get tickets to the games, and so they just use it as an outing, and now they're baseball fans. They get excited about it. And I'm saying like more people, if they understood the game, if they understood where our team ranked, like what you're saying, they're not just American League number one.
They're these are all stars. This is the best in the sport right now.
Best in the sport. It's the equivalent to the Bucks being the best in the NFL, not just the best in the NFC. The equivalent to one day in our dreams, the Magic being number one in the NBA and not just number one in the East. A kid can dream.
Great.
Look,
she said a kid can dream.
But they are a premier organization in that league, and so.
But honestly, the biggest problem that they're always going to have is very much commuter state problem. Is the fact that nobody in and around Florida is, for the most part, from Florida. So like people like myself come from, let's say, Illinois. So I bring all my teams with me. I'm a diehard Chicago fan, through and through.
That's an interesting point.
So like
because when the Rays play the Yankees or they play the Sox,
any of them.
Well, I mean now it's neck and neck because Rays fans will come out and say, no, we're gonna come out against the Yankees and we're gonna come out against the Sox. So
exactly.
Those are high population. But to your point, this is an area where you have a lot of transient resettlers.
And again, they grew up elsewhere, and it's like their diehard team is always going to be that, whatever it may be, wherever they're from. Oh, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, whatever it may be. Like, even though, again, Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl, it's like, we like the Bucks, but again, it's like, the Bears though. I'm still, root for my Bears.
Yeah, I'm still yeah. So, but look, I agree with that, and I think how do we find it's not something that you solve, right? No. But how do you increase
people just coming out and having a good time,
and more locals, because I don't think enough locals are in tune with baseball. No, baseball is really like an up north, and by up north I mean North County. I don't mean like it.
Yeah, shoot. I'm thinking Midwest, so it's like
it's very popular in the Midwest. I live in Denver, and the Rockies are super popular. They got a huge stadium right in the heart of Denver. And here the Rays are in this beautiful tropical destination. And
struggling.
I think they're just struggling with attendance, but they're great community partners. And so that's enough politics on local sports. I do think that we have a lot going on. Let me see here. We have a lot going on in the world overall, man. So you got to think, if you're coming into this weekend, 9/11, Bucks are winning, football season starting. What else is going on this weekend? Saturday morning shop is happening, but shout out to Renee Edwards. The Saturday morning shop for the first time is going to be in Tampa.
Oh, nice.
And so we here in St. Petersburg will have a Sunday morning shop So right across the street from Tropicana Field in the parking lot there on the corner of 16th Street and 1st Avenue South. What's that? Lot 4. Yeah, Lot 4 is the official thing. There will be a Sunday morning market.
Nice.
So come on out. My team will be there. I think there's a yacht club regatta happening tomorrow. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, because I think last weekend was the speedboat races.
Yeah.
There's always something going on.
There's so much going on. So I say there's a lot going on in the world to say, do not forget that there is a silent enemy among us. There's a silent killer among us, and it is called coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's called COVID. And I know there's a lot of controversy here in our state. I think it's unnecessary controversy myself, but
me too.
It's not in the purview of city council to mandate the masks in the schools or not. But that whole spectacle with our governor and our courts, and will the appellate court hear the case and how will they rule? All of these things come into account and come into play. And so, our guest is just running a little behind, but he's going to come on, and I guess we might as well start sticking our toe in it.
Right. And actually, I would just want to touch on the COVID thing real quick too. Because, coming from like a real perspective, somebody who got the vaccine, fully vaccinated like myself, feeling this boomerang effect of like, we thought this was over and now it's happening again. Again, people, I get it. I'm frustrated too. I do not want to mask back up, but again, like we got to do what we got to do community wise.
And look, I think
your neighbors, love your brothers, love everyone, but it sucks. I don't want to do it either. I hate it, but I'm going to start masking back up myself. Again, even though I'm fully vaccinated, wherever I'm going, I don't want to, but this is what we got to do, people.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that's the middle ground answer.
Yeah.
If you don't live in a country that you believe the government should mandate vaccinations,
exactly,
or that businesses should require a vaccine passport, or nobody should have the right to ask you about your personal health status, then we have to be responsible.
Exactly.
And say, okay, well, I'll wear the stupid mask.
Exactly.
I'll wear the mask to
I'm not happy about it.
Come on.
I ain't happy about it, but let's just
do
it to get it over.
I'm gonna do it to get past it. Exactly. Because if not, the idea. Now, granted, I think it's like 1% of people. It's got a 1% mortality rate.
Yeah.
And when people hear that number, they're like, "Oh, it's just 1%."
Yeah.
But you got to think, this is hundreds and thousands of people we're talking about.
Yeah.
Even though it's 1%, they're 320 million.
Yeah, 300.
When you think about the undocumented, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're talking probably more like in 360, 370 million.
There's so many people in this nation that
1% of that would be 3.7.
That's too many.
People.
That's too many. That's people's family members, co-workers, friends. You can't disregard human life, even if it is just the 1%. So there's a lot of things that can be said to that point, but I agree with you, man. I think just being responsible and
just be real and responsible, people. Like we don't like it. You talk some smack, but put the thing on. You're like, I'm gonna put this damn thing, but wear it. You know?
I'm aware.
Be pissed, but wear it.
Yeah. And shout out to the people who have made it like a fashion thing. There's some people where I'm coming in with my stupid blue plain, little basic mask.
Yeah. I see some people
and they're
rocking
they got their fly. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Like matching the outfit,
like
my
mask game up.
The pattern matching their shoes or something. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we talked about this last episode or last time we talked about vaccines, but think about a couple years back looking at videos of people in Eastern Asia.
Yeah.
With all of
the
their
big SARS breakout and stuff.
Or air pollution. They had such bad air pollution that they all just were. Yeah. And I used to be like, dang, I'm glad we don't have to do that, but it's just crazy how the world turns.
Exactly.
It's like
even at the beginning of this, I swear, I never thought that I would actually see that day, quote unquote.
Yeah,
to where
we gotta wear masks.
Exactly.
Oh, that won't happen in America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and that goes along with that kind of thinking of like, oh, well, maybe I don't need to wear a mask because there's just this inherent thing about like America. We're better than everyone else, so we don't got to do it. But again, even like somebody educated like myself, I thought that even when all this is breaking out, I'm like, there's no way that the masks will ever come to America.
Yeah.
Fast forward 6-7 months, and it's just.
And it's crazy.
I don't know, it's wild. But again, it's a needed thing.
It's here.
Like
And it's
even if it only protects like some minute, you're taking some sort of mitigating response to something that, like, again, even if it only helps a little bit, you're at least helping. You know? So again, I don't know.
No, your thoughts are right on, man. And it reminds me of something I read last night, and I gotta confirm it if it's not true.
Yeah.
But there was an opinion, there was a case that came before the Supreme Court in the early 1900s about smallpox vaccines.
Yeah.
And I guess the Supreme Court ended up upholding this guy getting fired from not getting the smallpox vaccine. And in the opinion, that I seen, right? You gotta check these things. It wasn't on we were talking about last week that I read this, but in the opinion, Chief Justice Marshall wrote that we cannot think about our freedoms in this like wholly all-inclusive, all-encompassing way. It's a dangerous way to think about it. Can you just go like kill people because you feel like it? Like, no,
right? Because that's my basic freedom.
Yeah, there have to be rules in society to kind of keep things even keeled. And he said it's there in the opinion. Things like an epidemic, kind of will cause you to have to kind of conform to what's safest for the well-being of our nation.
Exactly.
So I thought that was interesting. The Supreme Court, are they going to stick to that type of precedence?
Right.
They are getting out of sticking to precedents. If you look at the abortion situation,
because that's you already said it, because there are so many precedents tied to the Roe v. Wade. Like, excuse me, there's multiple.
Yeah.
Multiple precedents tied to the Roe v. Wade, and for that to get stricken out, yeah. Obviously, the domino effect that ensues. It's like so again when we're.
But did you see what our Attorney General, Mr. Merrick Garland? And the Justice Department did this past week? They went ahead and filed an official lawsuit against the state of Texas.
Oh yeah.
And so now it has to play out. Now the Supreme Court has to get their hands dirty.
Exactly.
To address the problem head on. And hopefully they hear the case.
I hope. Yeah, they definitely will. I mean,
it's right
based on their midnight ruling for the last one and them catching a little flack. I could assume this is going to be a little bit more on the up and up, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and take our time with this one. And for good reason.
Reason, because you got the whole South and Southern antebellum states that are locked and loaded. So here we are. We have about 15 minutes left, and I think that is plenty of time to get some good learning from the smart man. Man, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Please join me in my applause for this brilliant man. We're joined by James Scott. I earlier described you as an environmentalist / small business owner. So we had a few things we wanted to talk about. Jacob was talking a little bit about Biden's new 2050 plan and reduce what's the.
He was shooting for, I believe, right under 50% or right at the 50% solar energy is. And again, this is obviously a very broad spectrum plan. Right. This isn't written out. It's going to come to the lawmakers, but the fact that that's what he's shooting for,
right?
It makes me feel good.
Yeah. And so,
but solar energy, 50% for the entire country.
Yeah. And it's a big goal, but I was saying here we have our St. Pete 2050 plan that might have some of those same things in the line. So we got some things to talk about. we want to talk about the water treatment facility. We want to talk about some of the climate changes that are happening, I guess, around the nation, the fires and floods. But first, let's give you a chance to speak, introduce yourself. How's it going?
It's going good.
Oh, you got to lean right on in.
Yeah.
How was that?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, so it's good to be here, guys. So my name is James Scott. I serve with the Sierra Club, and I own a small business called Anthem Energy. I've been working on environmental issues in the city since I moved here in 2008 at USF.
Nice.
Did a lot of the climate planning and been involved in a lot of the city's activities around sustainability and resiliency and energy planning.
Lean in a little more.
And so, yeah, so I've got a familiarity with these issues in St. Pete.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, let's talk about the issues.
Awesome. Awesome. So, first of all, what do you think about this goal to achieve 50% solar energy by 2050 on a national level? And how does that align with our 2050 plans in the city of St. Pete?
So I'm not sure, because the 2050 plan, I can't say that I can speak to the energy elements of that, because I don't think that that's a major component, the energy piece of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just to focus on the federal level, the infrastructure bill that they're looking at right now is that there was a big debate in that, which was, are we going to have a grid that's going to prioritize the centralized grid or a decentralized grid? And
Okay.
So the whole idea of solar, making 40% of the grid solar, that's a radical shift.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of transmission lines and energy storage, it's a complete rethinking of the grid.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's a really high goal, but,
Yeah.
but when you look at the composition of the Senate and what we got with the filibuster,
Yeah.
the idea that Joe Manchin,
Right.
the swing vote is gonna move this through.
The Collins and the mansions.
It's
Yeah.
a great goal.
We were just talking about them last week.
It's a great goal, but the political reality, our system's broken up in D.C. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's great to be ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
but I would compare that to St. Pete. Like in St. Pete, we set high goals,
Right.
Yeah.
but where's the beef?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
very
I
true.
mean, that's a reality,
Yeah.
that I think makes politics monotonous. It makes
Exactly.
it something a lot of people just they don't even want to hear about it. Don't bring it up at your family dinners
Yeah.
because it gets really controversial. But these are important things.
Yeah.
We're talking about the infrastructure, and so while we're on the topic of infrastructure, you have New York underwater last week. Well, not underwater, but people's apartments and stuff. We were talking about it on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
It's flooding. Stuff is just coming through the pipes, through the roads.
Right.
It's happening in New Jersey. We can talk about hurricanes and stuff like that, but from an infrastructure point of view, how vital is it that we spend the money as a nation, as a state, and as a city to fix our infrastructure?
I mean, it's such an obvious investment, and
Yeah.
the thing about climate change, it's kind of like education. If you don't invest in it, the longer you poorly invest, the more you're gonna have to pay to catch up down the road.
Exactly.
The cost
Yeah.
actually piles up, and so the longer we take to rebuild our infrastructure
Yeah.
and to upgrade it, the bigger our costs are going to be down the road.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, it's not that complicated to prove the science and the budgeting behind that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, in New York, hopefully you would have thought Sandy would have been a wake up call.
Yeah,
Right.
I forgot about
Exactly.
Hurricane Sandy
Exactly.
and all the damage it did up there.
Exactly.
And what they did was they used federal dollars to rebuild some of the same stupidly built neighborhoods.
Wow.
And a lot of the same systems perpetuated a lot of the same thinking in terms of development patterns and infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, how many disasters is it going to take? Obviously, more than a handful.
Yeah.
That's
Unfortunately.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. When you think about all of the American populace that isn't really maybe in tune with what's going on all the time in the environment, maybe they don't have the education, or maybe they're just busy raising kids, running a business, and they out of nowhere are blindsided by a storm or a flood or a fire in the case of California. I mean, what's going on? Climate change, is visible. What's going on at this particular moment? Why the big uptick, or is that just a part of natural occurrence?
So the recent climate study that came out from the IPCC about a month or so ago, we're finally able to draw a clear line between the increase of these events and climate change. It used to be like, we can. I think it's called attribution science.
Yeah.
Attribution.
Okay.
And so we can draw clear lines between these events and climate change now. Like
Gotcha.
happened in Germany, for example, that giant flood that just like wiped out a big.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
These events are happening with more frequency, and we can now definitively say that they're associated with climate change. And just like my personal assessment on this is that the climate is starting to break. If you look at the water melting in the Arctic. And how it's that cold water is flowing down and breaking up these
currents.
These really important currents. There's currents in the sky, water and air. There's currents in the oceans. And you're having those systems and cycles are being interrupted and slowed and sped up in the wrong places. And so we're going to start to see. This is the beginning. This is the beginning.
Because don't some of these ocean currents? I mean, doesn't this affect like even just besides? I mean, seasons, like basic everything. Correct. Like some of these like natural quote unquote currents and cycles.
I mean, everything.
From
every single part of the world, from the temperatures to the rainfall, and again, it's not just global warming.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
When folks say, "Oh, well, it's a severe snowstorm," what do you mean global warming? Like, come on, guys, it's climate change.
Exactly.
It's complicated.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's good.
I mean, I hope y'all are learning stuff here. I always learn stuff when James is around. Just an insightful man. Let me ask you something on more of the political end of the spectrum. How much is this going to cost the taxpayer?
The big question.
How do we mitigate the rising cost? Because you were saying, you were talking about the rising cost of insurance.
Oh yeah.
His buddy said his buddy has to get flood insurance now
on the 5th floor of an apartment
from Philadelphia,
up in like Philadelphia and the cities and stuff.
Yeah. So how much is this costing the American citizen / American taxpayer? I mean, you're not an economist, so you don't have to give us that.
But in broad strokes, I mean, it's going to be, trillions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Because again, you have two key concepts in climate science. You have mitigation and you have adaptation.
Okay.
And so mitigation is reducing the emissions that are causing climate change. And so it's almost like we're heading into a car crash. So pumping the brakes is mitigation. That's reducing our emissions.
Gotcha.
What it's going to take to reduce the emissions is what we talked about in the beginning about reducing our carbon footprint through solar and technology like energy storage is what I do.
Yes,
gotcha.
yes.
And so
that's mitigation, and then there's adaptation, which is dealing with the consequences, like New York and like that, like what you have.
Okay.
And the ring around New Orleans that was like billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So the longer we wait to invest in transitioning our energy supply, the more we're going to have to pay to upgrade and fortify our cities.
Gotcha.
And so it's a chicken and the egg, and the ship's already out to sail. So we got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah.
And so and that's
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
And it's a transformation of our economy very fundamentally.
Yeah. Love it.
I love the breakdown too of just the mitigation adaptation side because again that's something that learning something new every day.
That's what I'm saying, guys. Painting a clean picture.
Exactly.
So we got a few more minutes here. I want to talk as we wrap up here. I'm all about keeping our city growing through, the local business and small business sector. Really think that that's going to be the heart and soul of our economy going forward, especially as it relates to keeping people who live here able to enjoy working and playing and living, affording, all of those things. But you're a small business owner. You talked about it, and tell us a little bit about how you're merging, being an entrepreneur with your passion for reducing the carbon footprint.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to work with, I started my advocacy work at USF. I'm doing energy projects with solar and storage and the technology that makes buildings efficient and smart. And so I was able to translate that because I learned a long time ago, I want to do what I'm passionate about. And so energy storage, that's it. Like when Biden talks about 40% of the grid being solar, that's going to require a ton of storage. and massive upgrades to the basic workings of our infrastructure for energy.
Yeah.
And so storage is a major piece of that. The parking garage at downtown St. Pete, USF St. Pete's campus.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a microgrid. It's got 100 kilowatts of solar on top. It's got 200 kilowatts of battery storage on the first floor.
That's awesome.
It's got high-tech sensor lights throughout that kind of flick on when you're driving up and dim when you're going behind.
Yeah.
And so that is a model, and that was my inspiration for wanting to do this work.
Yeah.
And so I'm now taking that into my business life. Again, you can add all the solar you want all day long, but that solar doesn't work at nighttime.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if your power goes out in a hurricane, your solar doesn't work. You have to have battery to balance all that out to power your house.
Yeah.
So for resiliency, for being able to use your solar power when the grid is down, also for sustainability to reduce your carbon footprint and your dependence on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Batteries are what ties together your solar with the rest of your life.
Gotcha. Okay.
And kind of bringing it full circle and getting around the problem that sun only shines in the daytime.
Gotcha. So your solar is charging your batteries, and then when the sun's out, your battery is powering your
house and your solar.
Yeah.
So when the sun goes down, your battery pumps back out. The sun comes back up.
Yeah.
Your battery recharges while the solar recharges your house while charging your battery. So it's it's
continuous.
Turning your home into a microgrid.
Yeah. That's awesome.
See, this is the forward thinking and type of innovative solutions that have to be applied as we look to move forward and keep the cost down.
Yeah.
A big fear that I have is the cutting of the costs.
Yeah.
All of that profit always seems to never trickle down, right? The cost of living continues to rise no matter how innovative our products seem to, and easier our products seem to make life. And so responsible corporate citizenship is a must from our larger players in the market if we're going to allow small business ideas like this to become, they should become a key. You should have a large market share of this stuff because of the long-term benefit that it have. But how do we get more leaders thinking like that? I guess that'll be my last question for you here: is how do we get more leaders because I'm understanding it. And I'm running for the city council seat. When I'm on the council, I want to be able to have these conversations in a way that resonates with folks' best interests. How do we get more people who have power to care about how to have innovative products more balanced in the market? I guess is that a big question? It's a pat question. So do your best. I'm sorry.
I mean, how do you encourage politicians to support innovation in the marketplace? Is that kind of
yeah? That's precisely what I'm asking.
Or even business, I would say, to a degree.
I mean, it's
or I guess to keep costs down, because the big, and we're running short, but the big thing is on our charter. Are we going to have single member districts? Are we going to do this at large thing? The biggest benefit of the at large system is that you can buy an election. If you're a developer, if you're a big business person, you can come in. If you're a person who is not a corporate responsible citizen, you can come in and make the politician kind of not listen to guys like you. And so what I'm saying is, how do we get politicians to understand the benefit of listening to guys like you?
So those of us in the private sector, whether we're advocates in the community or we are small business owners, it's a combination of, I think, a carrot and stick. The carrot is, this is good for the economy. The small businesses have always been the backbone of the American economy. Why we became a nation of Walmarts is beyond me.
Right.
That's not a sustainable economy.
Right.
And so the carrot,
shout out to Walmart. I gotta go there later on today, so I don't want to make no bad blood with them. But y'all made this a very difficult economy for the small guy. But go ahead.
So the carrot is just making it very clear this is the economic opportunity. And this is what growth looks like, sustainable growth. And the stick is if you are going to kowtow to the interests that squish the little businesses and that squeeze them out of our downtowns and our communities, that we'll vote you out. And so as a community, we have to put forward that agenda and that vision. It's not us really to rely on our politicians to make those decisions because they have a lot of different pressures. And so we have to kind of negotiate that space and help them see.
My kicking boots on, got some fresh. The type of intelligence you have when it comes to the environment. So I know there was like a crazy climate situation in St. Pete here earlier today. So thank you for navigating through the rain and leaving meetings and just making a little bit of time for us. We have Sierra Clark's been tuning in and she's learning a lot. I know I'm learning a lot, and the folks who tune in after the fact are gonna I feel learn. So
you painted a good picture. Again, I'm gonna go home and do just that, because again, the simple way you broke it down, the mitigation, adaptation, that's a beautiful way to look at it right there, because that's simple and straightforward, and I like that a lot.
It's a lot to it's easy to build on, you know what I mean? If you're a thinker, if you're a political solutions thinker, that is the perfect framework to try and come up with.
And again, solutions. It just breaks it down so beautifully, because it's like, are we going to invest beforehand? Are we trying to skirt this, or are we going to just...
And the powerful interests get their way when we don't know how these things work in a simple way.
Yeah.
Being able to take complicated issues and break them down, that allows regular people to understand it and then push back. Because the governor would have you think that adaptation is where climate change is at. We can't just seawall our way out of this. We have to mitigate.
Exactly.
Well.
Right.
And
exactly.
And if you don't understand that dichotomy, you would think that Florida's taking on climate change. No, we're just building lots of seawalls. That is not taking on climate change.
Yeah. Well, do I got time real quick? I want to ask him just about one more issue that we had here, the water treatment facility. While we're talking about this mitigation versus adaptation, conversation's just flowing, guys. We're supposed to be off. But I do want to ask about that. I mean, Albert Woodard, the treatment facility there closed, and it has caused a burden, a tax on our other three treatment facilities here. What is the way forward, do you think?
That's
I mean, it's a loaded question, and you don't have to get too detailed. But how do we start thinking about this?
I mean, I give Mayor Kreisman a lot of credit. When the sewage spills happened, I think it's back in 2015. It was a crisis for our city, and we developed the Integrated Water Resources Master Plan, which is really a blueprint and a roadmap. And it's got a giant price tag, and I believe it's somewhere in the realm of like $2.5 billion over 30 years.
Wow.
And to put that in context, I believe St. Pete's operating budget, at least when I last checked a few years ago, it's like $500 million a year. So that's 4.5 years of annual budgets.
Yeah, exactly.
To put it in context.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have to stay the course. It's kind of like the Senate considering $1 trillion infrastructure bill. That is a drop in the bucket. Like our annual budget nationally, $3.5 trillion, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so we're spending about a third of an annual budget on infrastructure. Where in St. Pete is looking at spending 4 to 5 years worth of an annual budget on infrastructure. So
That's crazy.
A sense of the proportionality between an annual budget of a government and the price tag of these major issues. It's going to take nationally many trillions and locally many billions.
Yeah.
And it's going to take these shocks to the system to get the politicians to step up and spend the money. St. Pete's on the right track. But it all comes back to lateral lines. We can build all the big water holding tanks and all the processing stuff we want. And all the underground injection wells, which are a terrible idea. But at the end of the day, it's the lateral lines from the houses to the streets. Until we can dig up most people's front yards and replace those pipes. We're going to be building this giant system just to make up for the 5 days a year when the water floods into those pipes in people's front yards. So
Gotcha.
It's a very basic, simple infrastructure. Front yard old pipe problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few grand a pop.
But it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
That's the opposite end of it.
And it's expensive because I mean we're knocking doors, and I feel like I'm gonna knock 1,000 doors. I get to like 38 doors, and I'm like I've been out here for 2 hours. So it's a gargantuan task to talk about the different. I mean, and then the ages of different homes.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're talking having to go home to home, yard to yard,
but
like
every house has a toilet though. You know, every house.
Right.
You know, so.
But also, you know, it's the city can rip up streets and build big tanks all day long, but this is private property. So
Yeah.
The weakest link in the system is on people's private property in their front yards.
Gotcha.
And so it's expensive, it's political.
Yeah.
And the realtors, the industry really is not a fan of requiring anything.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
And so the trick is going to be having some sort of a point of sale requirement where when you sell a house, you got to get your ladder line inspected.
Ooh, okay.
If it's
Okay.
broken, you got to fix it.
Gotcha.
So we got to go through the property appraiser.
I would say going forward.
There's got to be something to do it. There's got to be a way to do it because otherwise we're going to have to keep building out this extra big system that we really don't need just to handle those extra water flow days.
Is there a way to like offer citizens the opportunity to take advantage of some type of grant? You know, we talk about the money that's going to be needed to be used, and the whole time we're talking about, you know, I'm listening to the figures. I'm thinking about the money that we've just spent the last 20 years on this broken war, and you know, domestically, our streets are falling apart.
Yeah.
And so I can't rationalize not making the spend, but if it falls on the private consumer, then it makes the problem that more complicated. So I mean, what do you think? Is there room for that for a grant of some type to make this cost burden?
So I believe the city's been running a pilot program in South St. Pete.
Okay.
And they have been utilizing grants as a tool for that.
Nice.
Now, when they actually review that data and decide how effective that was, are we going to have the budget to scale that program citywide?
Yeah.
That's a great question. And ultimately, I think the cost is going to have to be shared between the city and homeowners.
Yeah.
But hopefully, if St. Pete is on its game, we should be able to tap into infrastructure dollars and a lot of this national spending.
That's what I'm thinking.
Get that money home because, you know, we have a giant, well thought out roadmap for how to fix our infrastructure. We have the budget plans laid out. We know what it's going to cost. So we're in a great position to look north and say, hey, we have, you know, a $1 billion need, and we have all the numbers and all the data.
Right.
Show me the money. We've got to figure out how to not to burden the homeowners, but also at the same time, your property has a pipe under it that's flowing.
Like a ticking time bomb.
Exactly.
That gushes a ton of water into the city. Unnecessarily, and whose fault is that? It's everyone's fault. So let's all own it together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Such is first world problems.
Right.
Such is first world problems. Well, man, any final thoughts that either you guys want to share, either on the environment or anything else here before we wrap it up?
I just had maybe one last quick question because it was something that I was reading more recently about infrastructure and the need for a lot of the upgrades. So we were talking about solar, batteries, charging. I mean, a lot of people are saying that some of these electric energy stations are, I mean, people like Thomas Edison would feel at home in some of these stations. That's how old and, like, you don't want to say dilapidated they are, but just like how behind in the times some of these stations are. So, I mean, is it something that's like kind of local
for the cars?
No, for like literally like the electrical, like our electrical grid systems.
Our electrical
like
grid systems.
Our literal, like what's running cities and states and this, that, and the other. Like the amount of money for the infrastructure and whatever. Like,
So what's the question?
just basically like, is a lot of money going to be needed for that as well?
Well, yeah, because I mean that's when Biden was talking about, you know, I think it's 40% solar by 2050. You know, and again, that incorporates also moving all the cars onto the grid. So keep in mind when we talk about solar and talk about the grid, a big distinction.
We're talking about the e-fleet.
Because about like a big chunk of American emissions come from cars.
Yeah.
And we're going to be moving those emissions onto the grid. And so having that solar 40% number, we're not just building a grid for what we're using now. We're going to be building a grid to power all of our vehicles too.
Yeah.
Think about like what that means in terms of the footprint.
Okay.
And we're using technology we started using 80 years ago. And so a lot of the stuff we see.
Because that's why I was kind of confused, I guess, and that's where my question comes in. So a lot of the technology is still kind of old to a degree.
Yeah, and that's the big one of the big debates in the infrastructure bill as it relates to energy.
Yeah.
Is that you've got the old guard who wants to keep the grid of the past, who wants to use the same old technologies, and then you've got the new people who say, hey, we have all these new technologies.
Right. Let's update it.
But all the old guards, like our utility Duke Energy, it's been kind of hard to get them to kind of change with the times and to see a new vision for what their business model could look like.
Yeah.
And so they're slow to adopt new technologies because they have a bona fide way of making a ton of money by using this technology.
Yeah. Capitalism strikes again.
Right.
All right. So it always comes back to our economy and politics. That's why, man, that's why I love this field. That's why I'm fascinated with conversations from the people who, represent the many different dimensions of society. And James, let's thank God that you chose the environment, because man, you are a gem to us here in the city and a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for coming. Can we clap it up for James being here? Thank you for
learning a lot today. Legit.
Thank you for being and yes, this has been another great episode. Jacob, you feeling all right, man? We're going in another week, head underwater. But we'll be back. We'll be back next Friday, and we'll do some more talking about politics, about this campaign, and about St. Pete and the city we love. So I'm Mhariel Summers. This is the Summers for St. Pete podcast, and y'all have a great weekend.
You're listening to Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams.